Today is Thursday, August 4th. We'll tell you about the next step for NATO now that American lawmakers have come together to open the door for new members. Also, the high-pressure situation left in Taiwan after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's controversial visit there. And another closely watched election happening today. Plus, did your flight get delayed? That could soon mean getting a refund. How a credit reporting agency may have messed up some people's chances to get a loan. And a cat food-inspired feast for humans. It's happening with a top-rated chef. Those stories and more next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. NATO is one step closer to one of its most significant expansions in decades, thanks to a strong show of support here in the United States. The U.S. Senate voted overwhelmingly to accept Sweden and Finland into the alliance. The Senate vote came down 95-1, and now President Biden says he's ready to give the final sign-off for the U.S. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell spoke before the historic vote, saying by letting in Sweden and Finland, they will, quote, strengthen the most successful military alliance in human history. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer echoed that thought, pointing out that an expansion is, quote, particularly needed in light of recent Russian aggression. Before Finland and Sweden can officially join, all 30 NATO members must approve their applications. 23 countries, including the U.S., have already done so, and more votes are expected soon. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi left Taiwan safely, but people who live there are still dealing with the retaliation from China. Today, the Chinese military started 5 days of defense drills all around Taiwan. China announced the live-fire military exercises in response to Pelosi's visit. Experts say projectiles could even fly over Taiwan, which would be seen as a major escalation. Now, both Chinese and Taiwanese planes are avoiding airspace near the drills, and Taiwan told ships to find alternate routes as well. China also started to block certain imports from Taiwan to disrupt trade in the wake of Pelosi's visit. Well, during that visit, Pelosi and other lawmakers met with Taiwan's president and other Taiwanese officials and had a roundtable talk with human rights activists. Pelosi said they wanted to show their support for Taiwan and its commitment to democracy, despite warnings from both China and the U.S. military before her trip. China worries this means the U.S. is backing away from long-standing agreements over Taiwan's status, or that it could embolden advocates of Taiwan's independence. Technically, the U.S. does recognize Taiwan as part of China, but it also acknowledges that Taiwan functions separately from the mainland. As many states work to restrict or ban abortions, President Biden signed another executive order trying to help women get the procedure no matter where they live. But expect serious legal challenges over this. The order lays out the groundwork for the federal government to help women travel between states to get abortions if necessary. It tells the Health and Human Services Department to consider giving states federal funding to treat patients who cross state lines and to do more research on the issue. But current U.S. law says federal funds, like Medicaid, cannot be used to pay for abortions unless the woman's life is in danger or if the pregnancy happened because of rape or incest. When the White House press secretary was asked about that, she said the administration is still working out the specifics of exactly how to work with states legally. To be continued. The state of Indiana has lost one of its most powerful female politicians. Republican Congresswoman Jackie Walorski died in a car crash in her home state this week. The local sheriff's office says the SUV she was in got struck head-on, killing multiple people. Authorities are still investigating what exactly went wrong. Meanwhile, both Republicans and Democrats in Congress have been sharing condolences and tributes to Walorski and her staff. Walorski was elected to Congress a decade ago, and she was seeking a sixth term in office this year. Now, state Republicans will have to pick another candidate to replace her in the midterms. More Americans are headed to the polls today. This time, it's Tennessee's turn to hold primaries. Most notably, voters will be deciding who should compete for the state's seats in the U.S. House this November. And one race is going to be especially interesting this time around since congressional districts were redrawn this year. In the past, the Nashville area has been a pretty easy win for Democrats. But Tennessee state lawmakers split Nashville up into 3 congressional districts, so Republicans could have more of a chance this time. Tennessee voters will also be casting votes for their next governor and more. So the pain at the gas pump is getting a little less painful. The newest data shows the average prices are now down to around $4.16 per gallon, after reaching a record high of $5 per gallon nationally in the U.S. So that's like keeping an extra $10 in your pocket every time you fill up your gas tank. But world leaders are trying to bring the cost down even more by upping oil production. Earlier in the summer, the world's biggest oil producers in OPEC and their allies added nearly 650,000 barrels a day to the supply. And yesterday, they announced they'll add another 100,000 barrels a day starting next month. Well, that said, American officials were hoping for a lot more because that 100,000 barrel increase only makes up less than 0.1% of the global oil demand. So it's only seen as a symbolic move that won't have much of an impact on prices. Bottom line, it's not clear how much more of a dip in gas prices we can expect anytime soon. All right, we have more news for you still ahead. But first, a quick break for our sponsor, Indeed. No one knows exactly what tomorrow's headlines will be, except for the people who shape them. Well, in business, if you want to make a positive impact for tomorrow, you need to hire great people fast. You need Indeed. With Indeed, you can find great talent faster through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. And there's data to show why it's a great hiring partner. Talent Nest found that Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, and that it's the #1 source of hires in the United States. ComScore found that 81% of U.S. online job seekers search for jobs on Indeed each month. Plus, when you sponsor an Indeed post, you're 4.5 times more likely to get a hire, according to Indeed's data worldwide. Indeed is doing something no other job site has done. Now with Indeed, businesses only pay for quality applications matching the sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/newsworthy to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. There could be changes coming to how passengers are paid for their travel troubles. This week, the Department of Transportation proposed stricter rules for airlines. Right now, travelers are entitled to a refund if their flight is canceled. But when it comes to delays, the rules aren't so clear. So the DOT wants to change that. Under the new proposal, a passenger should be compensated if a flight is delayed more than 3 hours within the U.S. or 6 hours for an international flight, if the flight's destination changes or a connection is added, or if a passenger's seat or amenities are significantly downgraded, like from first class to economy. But it's not a done deal yet. Right now, this is just a proposal. The public has a few months to weigh in on this before a final decision. And it is worth noting, the biggest complaint among flyers over the past 2 years? Refund policies. A new report found millions of Americans were issued the wrong credit score. And at least for some of them, it may have led to higher interest rates and denied loans. The Wall Street Journal cites bank executives and other sources who say Equifax issued the wrong credit scores to people applying for auto loans, home mortgages, and credit cards. And some scores were off by 20 points or more, which experts say would be enough to impact a lender's decision in either direction. Equifax is one of the 3 major credit reporting companies in the United States, and it's admitted a coding issue caused some people's credit scores to be miscalculated. The company says the issue lasted for about 3 weeks earlier this year, from mid-March to early April, but that fewer than 300,000 consumers were impacted enough that they may have gotten a different credit decision. The company also says it doesn't take what happened lightly, the issue has been fixed, and it's working to update its systems further. Some of the world's best golfers are teaming up off the course for an antitrust lawsuit. 11 golfers, including Phil Mickelson and Bryson DeChambeau, are suing the PGA Tour, as in the organizer of the main professional men's golf tours in North America. The same PGA Tour some of these players have spent decades taking part in. The lawsuit argues that the PGA Tour is harming the golfers' careers with an orchestrated ban that also prevents competition between leagues. Remember, the PGA Tour suspended the players who joined a different new golf league funded by Saudi Arabia that's called Live Golf. Even though Live Golf has reportedly offered them big bucks to play, this lawsuit claims the PGA Tour's suspension harms players, sponsors, vendors, and agents. But the PGA Tour does not seem to be backing down. The PGA commissioner says the tour will only defend members who abide by the rules. It looks like the DC Comics movie Batgirl may never see the light of day, despite the fact it had already finished filming. The movie was in post-production when Warner Brothers announced it will no longer be released on the streaming service HBO Max as planned, or in theaters for that matter. The exact reason isn't clear, but a spokesperson told The Hollywood Reporter it's about a strategic shift. Ultimately, reports say the movie, which had already gone over budget, was likely seen as too small for the cost of a major debut in theaters, but still too big to make financial sense for streaming only. Warner Brothers also scrapped the latest Scooby-Doo movie, which was also set to stream on HBO Max. How would you like to eat like a pampered pet? Soon, you can. Fancy feast maker Purina partnered with a Michelin star chef, and they'll be serving at a new pop-up restaurant in Manhattan. But don't worry, people won't actually be eating cat food, just human food inspired by cat food. They've created dishes for people based on some popular canned dinners for cats. Items on the menu include salmon with cherry tomatoes, beef short ribs, and lemon panna cotta for dessert. You can try to snag a reservation starting today at noon Eastern. The cat-inspired dinner is only happening next Thursday and Friday for a total of 16 people. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, a message from our sponsor. Have you ever needed to see a doctor, but the one you usually go to, or really the one your friend recommended, is booked up for weeks or even months? Maybe that recommendation for the doctor your coworker gave you is not even taking new patients at all, or that office doesn't take your insurance. I know I've experienced all of the above. Finding a new doctor can feel like such a time-consuming hassle. But ZocDoc helps solve all of those problems. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. And ZocDoc's mobile app lets you quickly search, find, and book doctors with a few taps, and I'm talking about doctors that are in-network, in your neighborhood, and available ASAP. You can also read verified patient reviews. Simply go to ZocDoc.com, find the doctor that is right for you, and book an appointment in person or remotely, whatever works for your schedule. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy, ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. Happy birthday to the United States Coast Guard. Out of the 6 branches of the U.S. military, the Coast Guard was the second to be established 15 years after the U.S. Army, 232 years ago. It was founded on August 4th, 1790, when George Washington was president. But it wasn't called the Coast Guard from the very beginning. Its first name was the United States Revenue Marine. That's because the main mission to start was all about money, specifically enforcing tariff and trade laws at sea, preventing smuggling, and to collect federal revenue. It didn't get its official name as the U.S. Coast Guard until 1915, when it merged with another government agency that was dedicated to rescues at sea. Some things you may not know about the Coast Guard: it monitors the movement of icebergs around the world. Its members save thousands of lives each year at sea. And its motto is Semper Paratus, which means always ready. So thank you, Coast Guard members, for your service, and happy birthday. All right, thank you so much for listening today. Be sure to share the show if you find it valuable. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.